Friends, welcome to this third and final day of our 3-day meditation workshop. I have been talking to you in the last 2 days about the preparation for real, genuine, successful, effective meditation. Today we come to the real nitty-gritty part of it, the real stuff. To give you a little gist of what we did, in the beginning I suggested it's very important that we locate ourselves behind the eyes before we start meditation. Without that, meditation does not succeed. These are practical tips I'm giving you, and they have worked for me. That's why I'm sharing with you. It took me many years to discover this important fact, that unless you are feeling you are in the head behind the eyes, to start meditation is not successful. You can be meditating all your life. You will be just sitting outside. The attention will wander. Second point we found was that there are two tools we have to use, and that is the use of attention and the use of concentration of attention. These alone are needed for good meditation. Where you place your attention and how you concentrate it at that point, at that spot, makes all the difference. Then we went on to find out what different types of meditation we can do. And I suggested it's not necessary to go below the eyes, because below the eyes there are only energy centers, not centers of higher awareness. All the centers of higher awareness are above. And this fact is not known to so many people who have been practicing meditation. And they get experiences of enhanced energy, of unusual experiences of energy, and they take it to be something divine and something that's higher awareness. That is not so. Therefore, if you want to have higher awareness, to rise to levels above this physical level, it has to be done in the area, in the physical body, behind the eyes, above the eyes, and not below. And then I mentioned that the tools that we actually use to do that kind of meditation, which we call the yoga of the audible sound current, or Surat Shabad Yoga. The Surat Shabad Yoga, these words stand for Surat means attention, Shabad means the sound, Yoga means union with your highest self. So by use of your attention with the sound, you can reach your highest self. It's a simple thing. If you can put your attention to the sound within you and stay with that sound, the sound that is coming from your own consciousness, that is manifesting as independent of any other conscious thing. When you get attached to that sound, it takes you back to your own home. It's connected continuously from region to region, experience to experience, layers of consciousness upon layers of consciousness, and is unbroken till it reaches Sachkhand, our true home. Therefore, it's the best way in the modern times to take us back home without all the trouble of trying out first all the energy centers, then trying various kinds of other pilgrimages and so on, and then purifying ourselves with different methods. If we just purify our body and we do not put too much junk either into the body or into the mind, it will help us with the help of Surat Shabad Yoga, the yoga of attention, listening to the sound, to go back home. In this, because attention and concentration of attention are needed, we are aided not only by the sound, which cannot be heard straight away because of our scattered attention, but we use the power of repetition of words. The mind uses the process of language and the words of language to scatter itself. You will notice that most of our scattering of the mind in the rest of the world is taking place through words. The thinking mind employs the language that we know, the spoken language, the written language. It uses that language in order to have contact with the world. All thoughts that connect us to the outside world are through spoken words and written words. So that is why this spoken and written language, which we call Varnatmak in Hindi, is something that we can be used temporarily. It can be used temporarily to block the mind. Therefore, the Simran, mantra, repetition of words has been introduced into the spiritual practice. The mantra is just a repetition of words. How it helps is that by repeating set words, we squeeze out from the mind the thought stream of other words, and therefore it's a replacement for other words in our thought stream and helps us to concentrate our attention within ourselves. The second feature of these words is that each word has a meaning. If you look at language, how was language created? Language was created by using phonetic symbols, by using sound symbols to relate to other experiences. Every sound symbol that relates to a physical experience has been given a word. For example, if you say, this is a chair, I'm sitting on a chair. Here, what does a chair mean? A chair, how did we know what a chair means? Right from our birth, we were seeing that the experience of seeing a chair, sitting on a chair, everybody around us called it a chair. We immediately associated the experience of this piece of furniture with the word chair. And so we said, a chair, we don't understand what a chair is something made of like a furniture and we can sit on it. That association of ideas with an experience is the sole cause of all languages. All languages are phonetic symbols which are representing association of ideas with certain physical experiences. So languages are very limited. In fact, Socrates, speaking of language, he says the language we speak, we do not understand because we use words without knowing where they're coming from. And he gives an example of a chair. He says, how did the word chair come in the first place? It came from an idea of a chair. Somebody brought up an idea that you can make a piece of furniture on which you can sit more comfortably than sitting on the ground. And it's very, very easy to make it. So a particular chair was made. And he called it chair. Whoever made the first chair, he happened to call it chair. But the idea of the chair came much before the chair. The idea came from somewhere else. He says, ideas for all words have come from somewhere else. Where do they come from? He says there's a separate world of ideas. He's referring to the astral plane of consciousness. He says the idea of a chair came prior to a chair. What happened then? It began to apply to every kind of chair. A chair does not mean a particular chair, it means all chairs of different designs. The word chair got really expanded to mean every type of chair. This expansion of the word chair to include every possible chair took place at the physical level, whereas the idea of a chair, which includes all the chairs, and one idea of a chair, the original chair, is in the astral plane. He says, all things have arisen from the world of ideas, which is the astral plane. And the language that we speak here is confined to the association of ideas with that particular physical experience. So therefore, Socrates recommended we should go to the world of ideas if you want to find the origin of language. And the language we speak here can be quite different for different people. The same word can mean different things. Supposing I have always seen very high chairs all my life. When the word chair will be used, I will think it's that high chair. Another person has never seen a high chair, always seen very low chairs. When he uses the word chair, he's thinking of a low chair. So he says, I brought a chair, and I'll think he's talking of a high chair. He's talking of a low chair. We don't understand each other. We're using the same word. Language has this great limitation that when we speak from our own association of ideas with that word. The other person is hearing from his own ideas, and to tell you the truth, no two are ever the same. because no two experiences of the physical world of two beings is ever the same. Have you ever thought of it, that the spoken language has such a big limitation that when we are telling something to somebody, he is understanding something different from what you're telling? It's all the time, not once in a while. It's all the time that no two people can communicate truly and properly with language, any language. All languages suffer from this limitation, that the words you are speaking in language are connected only with one set of experiences you have had. And somebody else may have an entirely different set of experiences with the same words, but similar ideas or the same idea. And therefore, when we talk to people, we are saying one thing, other person is saying something else. We wonder where the misunderstanding comes from. This especially happens when we leave chairs and go on to abstract ideas. Say love, jealousy. You say, I love you. We don't know what the other person understands from that. You may be meaning something totally different. So therefore, when it comes to abstract terms, it's even more difficult. Therefore, the spoken and written language has this very big limitation, that you cannot communicate properly. On the other hand, people say you can communicate better with body language than with verbal language. You can also communicate better with telepathic language than with spoken language. In the astral plane, you speak with ideas and not with the language of the physical world. Therefore, when you speak in the astral plane with another person, the other person understands you without your speaking, but understands exactly what you are saying, and you are saying the same thing the other person is understanding. So if you want to truly communicate with somebody else, the right place for it is the first higher level of consciousness, the astral plane, and not here. This Varanatmak, the spoken and written language, is only used temporarily. It cannot lead us any more than the first astral plane. It's only a temporary help to make the thoughts of the mind get squeezed into these words, and the squeezed words throw out more words out from the mind and the thinking stream, and therefore we are able to concentrate our attention. It has a very limited function. To enlarge its function, the perfect living masters give you a few words which they at that time charge with meanings within your inner coming experiences. That makes a big difference. Because if they were to say, do the Simran of Shakey's Pizza, you will always be going to the Shakey's store in your mind, and you will always be going out. You can never go in with Shakey's Pizza. So they will never tell you to repeat Shakey's Pizza. They will not even tell you to repeat anything that you can ordinarily experience outside. They will tell you words which you may not even understand, but with spiritual experience, you will find out, oh, that's what they meant with that word. Because they give the annotation, the association of that word with an inner experience and not outside. Therefore, the word becomes charged. It is a thing that they do at the time of initiation, that the word they give, at that very moment, they associate those words with inner experiences. And when you make progress in your own spiritual experience, you find that the words were meant for inner experiences and not outside. How does it help? It helps in this, that every time you speak those words or repeat those words in meditation, you are not only helping to squeeze out other words of the thought stream, you are remembering something you haven't even seen. Now you can say, what is the good of talking of something we haven't even seen? We should be talking of something we have seen. That makes sense. The truth is, in the higher level of the causal plane, there is no difference between what you have already seen and what you will see. Because there, the past and the future are completely transferable. It's very difficult to understand it here, where time flows only in one direction. But where you can experience that the nature of time is quite different, that time doesn't flow at all. You will find in the causal plane of experience that time never flows. Our attention flows on it. And the attention flowing at a certain pace on a fixed time frame is what causes events to happen. And you can put yourself anywhere on that frame. You can go backwards, forwards, and speed up or slow down. And it's just like space. that you can move fast or you can move slow. Space doesn't change. You are changing your position on space. Similarly, in the causal plane, you discover that the real nature of time is it is a static phenomena. It's already been set up once, and all events have been loaded on it. And you go with your attention from one event to another, and that constitutes life. And the same experience is happening here, except we go only in one direction. That is why what is to come and what has already happened is the same in the causal plane. Therefore, the charged words that a perfect living master gives us at initiation enable us to have a prior taste of something that is still to come. And that means a lot. Once we reach the causal plane, we understand the significance of the charged words. So that is why they serve two purposes. And these words are used in the physical sense, in the physical plane, to reach up to the level where the language does not have that much meaning in terms of words. It becomes a language of ideas. So do not think that the repetition of words will take you back home. It does not. Then what will take you back home? Not the Varanatmak Shabd or the spoken language, but Dhunatmak Shabd, the unspoken language, the language of sound. The language of sound transcends words. The sound transcends words. The sound can light up experiences in us which words cannot light up. The sound can be reflective of light and messages more than even words can do. Therefore, it's the sound that is in its essence the creative power that really helps us to go right back to our home. And so the ultimate path of the masters, of the perfect living masters, is somehow, sometime in the near future, connect you with the sound current which takes you back home. They give you preliminary exercise. Use the words and hear the sound. They allow you to hear sounds which are not really having any pull on you because they are still external sounds, physical sounds, local sounds, but they help you to concentrate your attention anyway behind the eyes. But the real sound that picks you up and takes you starts from the astral self and can be heard as you approach it. So when you can hear a bell sound that has a pull, it's already attaching you to the higher realm and pulling you up. As I explained yesterday, that the real meditation starts at that point. And the sound will take you back home stage by stage, giving you all the inner experiences of different stages of creation, different states of levels of consciousness. I explained all this yesterday, and yet today I tell you, all this is just a description of the mechanics of meditation. Even if you do all that I've said so far, no guarantee of anything. Because you can just make it into a mechanical exercise. Therefore, it doesn't lead you anywhere. What then can lead you to your true home is what does not even exist in the realm of the three worlds. What does not exist in the material physical world, nor the astral world, nor the causal world, only that can take you beyond that. And that is love and devotion. Love does not originate from the mind, does not originate from the senses, does not originate from the body. It originates from the spirit, from the soul. The soul lies above these three worlds. Therefore, when we practice something with love and devotion, we are practicing a spiritual path. Anything below that could be a mental path. With love and devotion, we can make an ordinary mental path into a spiritual path. Therefore, all that we talked about yesterday and practiced in the last 2 days should be done with love and devotion. This is the main message I wanted to convey to you, that without love and devotion, all that I have been talking to you about would not work. So love and devotion is the key. Indeed, all these things will fall apart on the way. The Simran, repetition of words, will not go any more than the first astral stage. You will not need it anymore, nor will it work anymore. The listening of the sound, of certain sounds, will only stop there. If there is no love and devotion accompanying this, you will not go beyond the mind. And the spiritual path starts above the mind. The mind is holding us here. Even if we make several travels to the astral and causal planes, even if we have seen all the heavens that have been created in the astral plane, We don't make spiritual progress. We are back on track on the path of 8.4 million types of life forms. So therefore, this cycle of reincarnation that keeps us here keeps on working no matter, even if you have risen as high as the causal plane of consciousness, or even if you have experienced the universal mind that creates all minds. We still come back here and go through the same cycle. If you want to get released from this, the very minimum that you should get is to know yourself without the mind, without the senses, without the physical body, and that only happens beyond these three stages. At the fourth stage, we call Par Brahm, even beyond the creative power of the mind. So therefore, Great Master used to say, my own path only starts from there. It starts from a recognition of each of us that we are an individual soul, a spirit, immortal spirit, and our true home is the totality of that spirit, where the whole spirit is only one, and we are just participating in the experience of being one, or the experience of being separated as an individual. It's the experience of individuation, the experience of feeling we have become a drop in a big ocean while we are still in the ocean. That's called individuation of the spirit out of the totality of spirit. And it's just like saying that one large body of intelligence can look at things from different points of view, and if you combine all the points of view that can be seen, that will be the total intelligence. And if you look at one point of view, that's individual soul. We are so located like that. So in a way, we are all different points of view of experience of the original creator. So we are not separated from the creator. We're just functioning as separate units. And that is why when you discover the totality, you discover who you really were. And that is the task of the perfect living master. If he initiates us, he guarantees this, that that's what you will experience. And it's a promise that he always keeps. He has never failed in this promise, that if he, a perfect living master, says, I accept you, you are my initiate, I have taken responsibility for you, he has taken full responsibility up to that point. He has not taken responsibility for part of it. That is why it's such an important thing to have that experience. It's the greatest experience one can ever have in any lifetime, to get the initiation from a perfect living master. I can't even think of anything better than that. Therefore, this love and devotion is essential. Whenever we have a perfect living master, he gives us his external form, first of all, to contemplate upon, to do dhyan or contemplation of the face of a master, and that helps us in our love and devotion. Even thinking of the master helps us in doing that. What happens if we fall in love with somebody in this world? What happens? Don't we think of the image of that person all the time? Don't we think of the name of that person all the time? If an ordinary person can create that love and devotion in us, what about God manifesting himself in a human being? Wouldn't it be much easier and much better? Therefore, the love and devotion should be inculcated. How does it grow? How can love and devotion grow? If you want to love somebody, how do you grow your love for that person? By pleasing that person, by doing what that person says, by obliging that person. That's normal for a human being. The same thing applies to spirituality. If you please God, live in His will, God will be pleased with you, will draw you to Himself. If you please the Master, He draws you to Himself. To do what the Master says, if you do that, you're pleasing Him. And therefore, if you follow the instructions that are given to you by a perfect living Master at the time of initiation, are followed by you, and you make that a high priority, you're pleasing the Master. You are developing love and devotion for the Master. Therefore, love and devotion can be done by remembering the Master, doing meditation, doing things the Master asks us to do. Let's practice. Meditation which you learned in the last 2 days, now practice with love and devotion. Make an image in imagination of your Master. If you have no Master, make the image of anybody that you love. So you can have the effect of the power of love and devotion, how it affects the function of meditation, of the Surat Shabd Yoga, yoga of the sound current. Try speaking the words, doing the Simran. When you can hear the sound, switch to the sound. If the sound becomes less, switch back to the words. If the sound comes again, switch back to the sound. All the time trying to keep the image of the Master and expressing your love the best way you can for your Master. Talking to the Master. Taking advantage of this fact that the Master is with you at this time in your head. Take full advantage of this opportunity. How many of you could successfully do this exercise? Very good. The rest will need more experience and practice. This is the most important part. Meditation should be done with love and devotion. If it is not done with love and devotion, it's a mechanical exercise. You can be sitting all your life in meditation and say, why am I not getting anything? Because love and devotion is what will take you above. It pulls you. Love and devotion is pulling you from Par Brahm right when you are here. Now I want to mention one important fact. Many of us are engaged in worldly duties. Many of us have very big jobs to do. Some of us have long hours to work. And one wants to know what is the relationship of the time we give to meditation and the time we give to our worldly work. Should we not give up all our worldly work and start doing meditation? Well, if you become dependent on other people for survival, then you are creating more karma than is necessary just to survive, and therefore you are not really helping yourself. That is why the Perfect Living Masters have recommended that you must do your duties. You must earn your livelihood honestly and with hard work, with skillful hard work. That means the best skills your talents have, employ them for hard work, for earning yourself, taking care of your family, meeting all your obligations to others. Work hard for that. But convert all this work into meditation by constantly remembering we are doing it as service to our Master. When you do any work and say we are doing service to the Master, it's accounted for as like meditation, and the fact that doing this finds you accelerated in your meditational progress is a proof that this happens. Therefore, do not think that doing your worldly work is against spirituality. It can be made part of spirituality. In fact, spirituality should be both way of living as well as meditation. Therefore, do not think that you have to give up your work or work less or work somewhere else or move somewhere else to be in a greater meditational stage. Every place is worthwhile because the temple of the living God, the temple of your total consciousness is the one you carry with your body on your head. You're going around to other places, takes the temple with you. You're not finding any new place. The second thing I want to mention is that if you have to do your work with skill, then you might say, if we meditate and we start enjoying all the goodies inside, why would we like to do the work outside? Won't that affect the quality of our work outside? Well, sometimes it does. Sometimes one gets so intoxicated that one doesn't like to do any work outside at all. So, but to make that a rare exception, so that we should have some intoxicated guys around to inspire us, to say, see what can do with meditation. But the rest of us can measure our progress in another way. That is, are we feeling greater love and devotion for the Master? If your feeling of faith, love and devotion is increasing, you are making internal progress which you can check even afterwards, that you made the progress while you're working with that feeling. I'll give you the example of my master's own master. My master was Hazur Maharaj Baba Sawan Singh Ji, and his own master was Baba Jamal Singh. Baba Jamal Singh was a disciple of another Swamiji from Agra. Baba Jamal Singh lived in Bias, in India, in Punjab state, and the distance from that place to Agra in Uttar Pradesh, another state, was sufficiently long at that time. It took a lot of time to travel there. But once in a while, people from all over the country would come to see their master. Once Baba Jamal Singh was feeling a great urge to go and meet his master. The urge was growing so strong that he couldn't hold himself anymore. So in spite of his work he was doing, he wrote a letter to his master. He said, "My beloved master Swamiji, I am missing you too much. I don't know what I can do. I want to see you as soon as I can. Please give me a date and time when I can see you." Mail used to take a lot of time in those days. So almost a month later, a reply comes from the Master Swamiji. He says, "My beloved son, Jamal Singh, I have received your letter and I am very happy to know that your soul is traveling in Khand Brahmand in the higher regions." That's all. He said, "This is not a letter for me. My soul goes nowhere. It must be misdirected, has been put wrongly in my address, and somebody has made a mistake." So he wrote a second letter. He said, "My beloved master, I received your letter, and I must confess, my soul is not going anywhere. I was only missing you so much, and I am even missing you more now. Please give me some date and time I can come and have your darshan." That's what I wanted. This letter that you have written about soul going in Khand Brahmand and to higher regions does not apply to me. Again he waited, and after another month, a reply comes from Swamiji, his master, saying, "My beloved son Jamal Singh, I have received your second letter, and I am very happy to know that your soul is roaming around in the higher regions. So far as coming to Agra is concerned, you can come in the first week of next month." Bewildered by these two letters, Baba Jamal Singh takes these two letters to Agra and places them before his master. Says, "Master, these letters contain information that doesn't apply to me. My soul was going nowhere. I was having no experiences like the one you have described." And Swamiji laughed and said, "Shall we go retire for half an hour into our chamber?" And the 10 or 12 people sitting outside, he told them, "Please wait." So Baba Jamal Singh and Swamiji went inside the chamber and meditated there, both together. After half an hour, they emerged out and sat there, and then Swamiji, in the presence of those 10 or 12 people, said, "Jamal Singh, now tell me, when I wrote that letter to you, was your soul going into higher regions or not?" He said, "Yes, Master." "I am not saying, did your soul go into higher regions during this half-hour session? I am asking you, was your soul going into higher regions when I wrote those letters to you?" "Yes, Master." "You were right. I didn't know it." Then he addressed the other 10 or 12 people sitting there, saying, "Sometimes when the masters want you to put undivided attention to the work you have been assigned to do outside, and your faith is strong, and you are working outside on that work and thinking of the master while you are doing it, it does not mean that your soul is not ascending anywhere. Your spiritual progress is still being recorded inside at that very moment. And therefore, what happens is that the power of Nirt and Surt, the power to see or hear, is blocked into a local state so that you only see things here, but the progress is being made inside. What happens in that case is that you miss your master more. The love and devotion grows tremendously. You want to be with the master, and yet you have to do your work. The master enables you to do your worldly work with full concentration. Without having to be disturbed there, you are still making progress. When you do make progress within and go in, you can see why you were missing the master so much, why there was so much sudden faith growing in you, why that devotion was propping up so much inside you, because you were making a spiritual ascent inside with your eyes closed and your ears blocked. This power is like putting blinders on you and showing you something. You hear the place, you have a feeling about the place, you come back, the blinders are removed, you're taken again to the place. Do you recognize? Yeah, I know we have been here. The same sights and sounds that I expected are here. The same thing that I smelt then are here. Is the same place. It's the same thing that we can sometimes not measure our spiritual progress in terms of spectacular visions only. These are good to have those visions. Sometimes those visions are needed just for building up our faith, but does not mean that the spiritual growth and the ascent of the soul into higher regions is only measured by what spectacles you see. But when you do see those spectacles, you can even date them and know that's why I felt like that on that particular day. That's why I was feeling so miserable, wanted to be with my master. That's why I was so lonely that day, and that's the reason. And it was happening to me that day. But I had to do those things outside in this physical world as part of my karmic duty, and Master allowed me to complete the karmic duty, so that should not be postponed and therefore postpone my spiritual journey. It's good to remember this fact. I am giving you an example of a master's master. So it applies to all of us, that we should not always get impatient because we haven't seen something inside. Realize, are we not responsible for doing a lot of things outside? Also, some other things happen when you're making spiritual progress inside. It's not only that love and devotion for the master grows, your love for people generally grows, that your hatred becomes less, that your tolerance level increases, that you're willing to see the point of view of another person better, that your anger level becomes much less, that your greed and possessiveness becomes much less. These things are also noticeable. And how are they happening? They're happening by the same progress on the spiritual path that takes you to spectacles and visions inside. So do not please think that the spiritual path only consists of seeing vision inside. It leads to an overall progress and improves us in so many other ways, and improves our living, our experiences in this life in so many ways that we cannot always see. It's all adjusted according to what duties we are performing here. Now don't forget, the karmic pattern is such that we come with a set of destiny and events of destiny, each requiring a reaction or a duty to be performed. We come as kids, we have duties towards parents. We grow up, we have duties towards friends and family. We raise children, we have duties towards children. We take jobs, we have duties on the jobs. We have so many duties arising from our situations. Those duties should be fulfilled. They can be fulfilled in two ways. You can fulfill them as karmic duties, action and reaction. I am required to do it, I will do it. Or you can perform them with dharmic duties. That is your dharma, your release, spiritual duty to do it. To make a karmic duty into a dharmic duty, you need to associate the duty that you are doing with something spiritual. There is nothing easier than saying, this I am doing not for myself, but for my master. It immediately converts what you are doing physically in your living world into a spiritual experience. These are some tips I am giving you because people get confused that how do we handle both things together, that we have to live in this world, do our duties, and yet we want to give priority to the spiritual path. How much should we give to the spiritual path? How much should we give to the worldly duties. According to the great master, we should give 21 and a half hours to the spiritual path and 2.5 hours to other work. How can that be achieved? He said, if you don't achieve that, and you give 21 and a half hours to the world and 2.5 hours to meditation, that's a lot of imbalance. How do you want to make progress? You'll make progress 2.5 hours on spirituality, then descend down into 21 and a half hours, eating, drinking, sleeping, doing other things, and come back to 2.5 hours meditation and say, now we are improving spiritually. It's imbalanced. Then how do you convert from 2.5 hours of spiritual work in meditation to 21 and a half hours? Great Master said, if you do all your work thinking of the Master, it all adds up to your spiritual work. If you do meditation before going to sleep at night and go to sleep while meditating, the meditation continues into the sleep. You can sometimes even wake up and see that if you were repeating the 5 words, you were repeating the Simran, they are still being repeated by you even while sleeping. The dreams also get associated with spiritual experiences. And when you wake up, you again give time to the spiritual practice. All that is being counted. If your whole sleep can become a spiritual experience, if most of your work time becomes a spiritual experience, while you're walking, talking, driving, you're thinking of the Master or doing the repetition, it becomes a spiritual experience. You can convert the spiritual experience into almost all the time, except when a job requires so much deep attention that you cannot think of this, which great Master used to say, never takes more than 2.5 hours in 24 hours. So he says, reverse the process. Instead of saying, in my 24 hours, I do 2.5 hours of meditation, say no. I want to use only 2.5 hours for very serious attention to some things which are needed. Otherwise, the remaining 21.5 hours is my spiritual practice. And then, of course, the balance is on the other side. The balance tilts towards spirituality, and you make much progress. These are tips that people do not normally read in the books. At least I haven't read them in the books, but they came directly from a great master's words and his instructions. So I thought they're very helpful to understand that we do not have to shirk our responsibility to any of our duties in this world. We should work hard, earn our living honestly, take care of family, take care of children, take care of parents, take care of friends where we can, do charity work, give 10% of what we make towards charity, give 10% of our time to serious meditation, and lead a great life. If we make a time schedule of our life like that, the whole life changes and becomes such a wonderful experience to live in. So spirituality doesn't start at the Parbrahm level, it starts right here. It starts right where you are. And if you follow the instructions that we have been practicing in the last 2 or 3 days, you will see they work to change your life. And do not forget that it's a question of internal priority, not an external priority that makes the difference. Internally, you should be committed to more to the spiritual side, and therefore everything will become spiritual. But if you only do it externally, now I'm reading a spiritual book, that's spirituality. And now I am doing something else, it's not spirituality. That doesn't count. So the priorities have to be laid internally. That what do you think is the most important thing in your life? Are all these relationships outside more important? Are all these things we are doing outside more important? None of them will go with us. They look so close to us, we get attached so much to them. And the moment we die, which looks like always a sudden period, we say, oh, I couldn't accomplish this, I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that. You are sowing the seeds of an immediate rebirth to complete those things. These desires left over are a sure sign that you have to be back in this wheel again. Therefore, but if you do everything as a spiritual duty, you create nothing as a karma for coming back again. I can also put this in a different way. People say you should live in God's will. If you live in God's will, you do not create karma. I agree. The only thing is, how do you know what is God's will? That's the important question. $1,000,000 question is, isn't everything God's will? Isn't the whole show running with His will? Then why are you asking us to live in God's will? Don't we do everything under His will? Is not everything predetermined by God and His will? How are you going to distinguish between God's will and some other will that you're talking of? Very good question. The answer is, God Himself has divided the will into two. The two wills that He has divided is God's will and the mind's will. He's Himself distinguished it. He's made it available to us that you can have a positive will and you can have a negative will. And He's made it available in such a clear terms that what you do with your mind's bidding is negative will and mind's will. What you do without mind's bidding, without mind's telling you, is God's will. How could be anything more clear? Maulana Rumi, the great poet, he gives an example. He says, people ask me, what is God's will? And I wonder, don't they know? If He has placed a spade in your hand, He has expressed His will, dig. I would add, if He has placed a pen in your hand, hasn't He expressed His will, write? If He has created a circumstance around you to do something and you do it, hasn't He expressed His will? All this is God's will if you don't bring your mind into it. So if you respond to coincidences, sudden intuition, intuitive knowledge, and to circumstances and conditions around you, and look at the clues that these things contain, you're always doing God's will. But when the mind says, no, I don't like it, I want to do something else, and start deliberating on that, that's mind's will. Therefore, the masters say, live in the God's will or master's will. If you're not clear, the perfect living master says, if in a particular situation you are not clear, is this my mind's will or God's will? And you have a living master, consult him. He'll tell you, this is God's will, this is mind's will. He can clarify for you. If you don't have it in front of you, use email or telephone, other means of communication. Letters don't take so much time to travel as in Baba Jamal Singh's time. It doesn't take a month for a letter to travel. Many means to check it out. But the easiest way is if you're doing meditation and have got the master's form inside you, which stabilizes with the 5 words, you ask it directly there. You get the answer right there. Don't even have to email or write. So therefore, those who follow the mind's will, we call them manmukhs. That means followers of the mind. And those who follow the God's will or master's will, we call them gurmukhs, the follower of the guru or follower of the master. So therefore, the attempt to shift from being a manmukh to a gurmukh is part of the spiritual progress. And that's exactly what we should be doing. That we should be relying more and more on following the clues of the coincidences, circumstances, and sudden gut feelings that we get, rather than on the mind's thinking and planning and telling us, do this. If there's a clash and you think the two don't match, then you consult. Supposing there is difficulty in consulting the master, the matter is urgent, you have to take a decision. Then you do repeat the names of the master inside. Repeat the words of Simran. Master, this is urgent. I want answer now, and you get the answer. Everything has been prearranged for people who are living in the will of God. It's not difficult at all to know what it is. Just the mind will try to disturb you and try to take it to its own will. Your mind has been given that role. The mind is an obstructive role on the spiritual path. Unless the mind can be given something so delicious and wonderful and tastes good, then it will follow you. The mind is our greatest enemy in terms of going into the spiritual path, and is our greatest friend when it turns around and starts helping us in meditation. So therefore, the same enemy can become a friend through meditation, and you can actually experience it. I have spent these 2.5 or 3 days with you sharing information that is based upon the teachings of great Master Hazur Maharaj Baba Sawan Singh. I have not invented anything new, nor created any new philosophy. These are old truths, tested, practiced, yielding results. That is why I shared them with you. This does not make me any guru, does not make me any master, does not make me anything. It only makes me a good conveyor of good tidings to you from one who was the greatest master in my experience in the world. I have not met his match anywhere. Therefore, I think the teachings of that man are very valuable, and if you practice them, I'm sure they'll be of great value to you. I am not doing any other work except the work of my own personal seva to my master. I am not doing it for you, sorry. I'm doing it for my master. But it so happens that you are here. It so happens. And therefore, I want to share this with you, that do it with love and devotion. Do not miss that. It's the most important part of it. And do it regularly, with regularity. Don't do it off and on. Don't make meditation an off and on experience. Because sometimes, if we leave it for a while, we start from beginning again. So the progress is lost. And this again is experienced. So many people write to me, ask me, where did you read that? Now, what is my answer? I've never read anything. In terms of reading, shall I tell you a secret today, a confession? I had not read any spiritual book till I came to the United States. Can you imagine? All my childhood, my work with masters, studying other subjects, doing work, and having so much happiness on the spiritual path was without any books. And when people began to ask me questions here, which book says that, I didn't know what to answer. When I gave an answer of the importance of sitting behind the eyes, that you should first sit behind the eyes, then meditate, who said that? Then I could say, great master said that. No, we have got great master's book, Spiritual Gems. It doesn't say that. Oh, now I would like to read. So I got a copy of the book, and I read it, and I marked 16 places in that one book where it says the same thing. How do we read books? That we missed out such an important thing? In 16 of the letters in that book, Spiritual Gems, the same thing has been mentioned. Unless you locate yourself at the third eye center, do not meditate. He's explained it so clearly. How do we miss all this? So we read books only what we want to read. We don't read fully. Last night, I was listening to a song. My good friend, Frank Martel, who has traveled all the way from Mauritius, in Union Island in Mauritius, in the Indian Ocean. He traveled all the way to London to see me. He's come all the way to Chicago, and he has made my day by sending me a song by Bulle Shah, a great mystic, sung by a Pakistani singer. I looked up on the internet, on the YouTube, I found that Pakistani singer has sung many other songs. So I began to listen. I was lost in those songs last night. And one of the songs said again and again, Kitaban hazaran padho, apne aap nu padhya nahi. You can read thousands of books. It means nothing if you haven't read yourself. Bulle Shah says that. And he says such beautiful things so forcefully, in such simple language, that it pierces you, that he has been shouting on the top of his voice about these truths. And how did we miss? And who is singing it? A very beautiful girl from Pakistan, a Muslim girl singing this song in that part of the country. And we don't even listen to these things. He earlier gave a song to somebody in London who passed on to me, which was entitled, Ith nahi te kith nahi. If not here, then nowhere. It says, if it is not here, it's nowhere. And then further says, Kaun bulenda, who is speaking? Where is this voice coming from? If it is not there, it's nowhere. Such clear messages, such beautiful songs. They try to convey the message to us deep, sung by the same girl. And I was touched, so I went on listening to several of Bulle Shah's kafis last night. They're so intoxicating because they're repeating the same truths we have learned. And they say, thousands of books cannot give you this. And I'm telling you from my experience, reading of books can arouse your curiosity. Reading of books can give you some information, but they do not lead you anywhere unless you practice. And the only way to really verify everything that we talk about or what is written in the books is by practically going within yourself. This is not an academic thing at all. It is a purely experiential thing. And unless you experience yourself, you are fooling yourself by thinking by reading of books you're going anywhere. So books can contain very valuable messages. Songs can be very good. Supposing I spent my whole time listening to Sanam Marvi, I'll go nowhere. Unless I do what she's saying, go within. Have you read books or have you read yourself? Have you gone into temples and mosques and churches or have you gone within yourself? He says it's a waste of time to go into temples and mosques and churches if you have not entered yourself. It's a waste of time. But if you have gone within yourself, every entry to any place will be good because you will see God everywhere. You will not be able to distinguish that God is here and not there. God is everywhere. And therefore, it's important to know that the path of the masters, of perfect living masters, is not at all concerned with the writings of people. It's not concerned with people who came in their own time, who wrote things about their experiences, and who talked to people who were needing those talks at that time, that who were the believers only up to that point at that time, and therefore they gave that message at that time. They were the most suitable masters for those people at that time. These are historical things. History has recorded so many things. Yesterday, my good friend, Don Dixon from Arkansas, who's here behind here, he presented me a volume of his newly published book. In that book, he has assembled the names and lives of several masters of the past, from the West and from the East, to prove to everybody masters are not confined to one place, that they come only there, nor do they come only once for some select group of human beings. We are all children of the same Creator. He has made no distinction in terms of who can reach him back at all. He is not a discriminator, that he will choose some people to go to heaven and others to go to hell. He loves all of us equally, no matter where we are, no matter what our religion, no matter what our nationality, no matter what the color of our skin, no matter what language we speak. And he has brought together in that volume, it's a beautiful book, in which he brings the lives and the teachings of masters of the West and the masters of the East. And you can see from that, masters have come all the time, all over this world. And there is not unique privilege of anybody. The qualified people who can be disciples of a master can go back home is every human being. Every human being of every age, every gender. It is not confined to anybody. So therefore, when we try to lock these teachings into small groups, make little religions, and call them the only way to go to God, we are being unjust, not only to the people, but to God himself. He is one for everybody, and we are trying to confine him into a box and say, no, he's only good for us. That doesn't make sense at all. Therefore, please remember that God is for all of us. He's sitting in all of us. Same God is sitting in all of us. There is no other God. There's only one God who sits in all of us. You can give him any name you like. Doesn't matter. You can call him by any language, any name. It is the same God. And that God sits in all of us. And if you don't believe this, what I'm saying, go in and check it out. Every word I speak, my challenge to everybody is, go in and check it out and tell me if I was wrong. How can you then say, no, we are reading more and therefore we want to challenge you? It's not a matter of reading, it's a matter of experience. Go in and check it out. So I'm very happy that I was able to deliver these messages to you. Very happy that I could share experiences with you without telling you more of my experiences from which I am blocked. I can't tell you my personal experiences. Some people want to know that. Somehow it's a vow to my master. And it's a vow we expect to keep because we do not want our personal experiences to become the speaking point and thereby create an image. It is just an ego game. It's just a person explaining what he has and not what the master has, not what the spiritual path has. Therefore, it's good to conceal your own personal experiences. But generally of the philosophy of the perfect living master, the teachings of the master, you can share. You can share your experiences indirectly, like experiences of other people. But do not bring the I into it too much, because I can raise ego. When somebody asks you a question, answer him, give him information. Do not try to persuade anybody. This spiritual path does not require, go and disseminate this knowledge and go and persuade people to come on the path. No need. Those who are real seekers of the truth will be found by a perfect living master, and arrangements will be so made they'll be drawn to it. Don't take any responsibility for that part. But if you find seekers who ask questions and want to know more, give them the answers. Do not go any more than that. Don't start a big discourse to tell them that you must join this, you must become this. No, leave them there. Let their own seeking find the answers, not impose anything on them. So these are some of the messages. I'll be very happy to answer a few questions, and then we have a set of interviews, and then this program ends. Any questions from the floor at this time? Yes, Boris. At night time, if you do your Simran before sleeping, that's good enough. The rest you can give more time in the morning. Okay. Yes. I said today also, when I said love and devotion, imagine the master in front of you. In the middle of your exercise, I said, ask the master to meditate with you. Both of you meditate together. I only said that because easier to make you and the master meditate together. The next step will be, Master, why I am meditating? You meditate for me. And that works too. Okay? Yes. And David? That is true. Anytime you have anything, you are mired in something, in a problem, think of the master and express your love, and answers come to you. Yes? In the beginning, we start as manmukhs, and the stages of becoming a gurmukh is alternating. We do things of a gurmukh type, then we do things of a manmukh type. Gradually we shift to a gurmukh. When we become a perfect gurmukh, we never become a manmukh. Yes. When the mind becomes a friend of ours, that is only when it starts enjoying something inside. Remember, the mind, apart from the fact it's a great thinker, apart from the fact it's a great interpreter of sense perceptions, is also loves variety of pleasurable tastes. Whatever gives pleasure, the mind likes. Therefore, it seeks pleasure and runs after pleasures, which is one of the ways which the desires and attachments of the world occur, because it's running after pleasures and attaching itself there. If the pleasures can be found for the mind within in meditation, it starts enjoying those pleasures also. And plenty exist inside. Once that happens, when you try to meditate, the mind does not create thoughts to take you out, but creates thoughts to take you back there. It becomes a help. At that time, the mind turns from an enemy into a friend. Yes, Frank? This quotation of one of the masters has often been interpreted, don't imagine the master because it could be anything else, and therefore don't imagine. What was not added to that was, if you imagine the master, it could be not the master but your mind making up, but you can check out with the 5 words, and if it stays, it's not imagination. That point was not added. So therefore, if you cannot figure out the master coming himself, and you have to imagine, when you speak the 5 words, the imagination will disappear. Especially you cannot see the eyes and the forehead of a master if 5 words are being repeated, if it's not genuinely the master. Therefore, there's a check on that if you imagine the master, it does not stay as the master unless the 5 words make the stable image of the master and he talks to you. Then alone it's the master. Otherwise it's your imagination. It will disappear automatically. You can't hold it. On the other hand, to have the experience of love and devotion in modern times, there's nothing better than creating the image, because that's the normal way we do it. Therefore, we encourage, start with imagination to build love and devotion for the master, but do not take the image to be real till the real master's image comes, which can be checked with the 5 words. Yes? It's an interesting question. We are back to whether everything is predestined or not, or we have an opportunity to change. We are back to free will. The question whether we have any free will to change anything, if it's already predetermined. The truth, let me talk from the top, the truth is everything is totally predetermined. There is no free will. Now, let's come down here. Back to earth. There is total free will. We can't even escape it. Everything we do here is with free will. So free will is completely real here, completely absent at the top. How can that happen? I can explain to you briefly once again, though there are a number of my talks on that subject, but I can briefly explain to you again that if you choose freely and it is not imposed on you by somebody, that's free will. If somebody forces me to do something, that's not free will. But if my mind itself decides what to do, that would be free will. Now, when my mind decides what to do, how does it decide? How does the mind decide what to do in every situation? There are only 2 kinds of factors that affect choice. The hereditary factors, genetic factors, and the acquired factors. What we have acquired up to the point of choice making. They never change. They are the same. Therefore, given those factors of choice, which you don't know, which you don't remember at all, you are using those subconsciously to make a choice, and you think the choice was made now freely. It's only a free choice that will use only the inner factors of choice, which are already fixed. Therefore, indeed, it's already fixed. Somebody who already knows what those factors are can predict in writing, as has happened with me in one incident, who can predict in writing what your choice will be. And your choice, free choice, after thinking of possible way to decide, will still be the same choice. So therefore, we have no real free will. It looks free because we are ignorant of our past and we are ignorant of the choice we are going to make. If we had knowledge of the past, or if we had knowledge of these factors of choice, or if we had knowledge what choice we already made and pre-recorded, we would have no free will. At the first astral level, free will disappears to a large extent because of this. Therefore, the free will is an experience at this level. There is no reality behind it, but it's a real experience. It has been made available to us as an experience in the physical world, so that with the same free will, we should feel we are the seekers. We are seeking. If we were told, you are predetermined who is a seeker, which Bulle Shah says. In one of his copies I heard last night, he says, it's all right, you should seek, you should do, but remember, it's already written. So he says in one of the songs. So what is already written can also be converted into an experience of free will by not letting you what is written. So that's what's happening. At the next level, the astral level, we discover that the things that we thought were totally free were written. And yet, we have the power to invoke our Master's divine intervention. That we can say, Master, I have seen my destiny. It is written, I don't like it. Can you do something about it? Master says, oh, I'm sorry to hear about it. Okay, I'll make a little change. So he makes a little change. You have seen the previous destiny. You have seen the change. You know it was not pre-written because Master changed it. Therefore, divine intervention has provided you a limited free will again in the astral stage. But very limited. Because the original you already know, which you don't know at the physical plane. At the physical plane, you know nothing. At the astral plane, you come to know that there are some things which are pre-written, but divine intervention can change them. So you have some free will to seek divine intervention and use free will. Then you go to the causal stage, and you find the divine intervention was pre-written. It was pre-written that you would ask for divine intervention. It will happen. Therefore, even that was pre-written. Then you say, then what is not pre-written? If all this is written already, and even divine intervention, which I thought was only changing my written destiny, was also pre-written at a higher level, then what is not written? And then you discover that the Akashic records, which are containing our original destinies, which are not changed by divine intervention, when you seek the Master's divine intervention at the top of Trikuti, the three worlds, where the Akashic records are located, and he says, okay, you want me to change something? Yes, Master, I don't like that part of it. He changes the entire tape, but the Akashic records remain intact. Why? Because he changes from ab initio, not from any written thing. What he changes is the entire past, entire future for one little event. And therefore, there's no notice at all of any change at all. So, and you go higher up to Parbrahm. There's nothing written or not written. There are no destinies at all. It all starts from the third stage. All life forms, everything that we go through, all things that we can call written or prescripted end there in the third stage. Above that, there is nothing at all. It's just the will prevailing to create the three stages. Okay? It's a very beautifully laid out complex scheme. Sometimes the mind likes complex schemes. Yes. Yes, this was a question put to me by a group of secretaries of satsangs the other day. They said that the masters say that you will not have more than 4 lives if you are initiated. When I first came to this country, people who were initiated by different masters, and they would talk to me and say, well, we have 4 lives to now go through this. And I used to get surprised. How do these people know that this is their first life? How do they know it? Because don't you realize, if you get initiated in one lifetime and you die and the master dies and you haven't made enough progress to get to the second life and you are initiated, you will not know you were initiated before unless you do progress in the meditation. So how can you determine without meditation this is your first, second, third or fourth life? There's no way you can know it. Therefore, I would give them an answer which they would quote from the spiritual books. They said, some masters say there's only one life, that either do it or you fail. Some masters say there are 4 lives. Some say if you have just been called and not chosen, you can have many lives. This looks like a little controversial subject. So they go back to Swamiji of Agra's teachings, where he talks of 4 lives. He says, Ek janam gur bhakti. You understand Hindi, but I'll translate also for others. Ek janam gur bhakti, nanam janam dusre naam, tisre janam turiya pad, chauthe mein nij dham. This is from Swamiji's Bani. He says, in the first, you are only made into a spiritual seeker, and you become a devotee of a master. In the second life, you are likely to get initiated. In the third life, you will be able to reach Turiya path, which will be able to reach the astral and causal stages. In the fourth life, you will reach Sachkhand. Therefore, he has laid out a program of 4 lives. Now, my father was an initiate of great master. He was at home when a satsang was held where this subject came up of 4 lives, and somebody asked these very questions. Their great master emphasized, don't worry about 4 lives. That's the maximum. Do everything in 1 life. Maximum is 4. It doesn't mean you have to wait for 4. Great master said with great authority. My father heard it from a friend who attended satsang, and he went back to master. He said, Master, I heard you saying today that we cannot have more than 4 lives after initiation. Is that true? He said, why are you asking Lekhraj? That was his name, my father's name. Why are you asking Lekhraj? This is your last life. Why are you worrying about it? He says, no, I am worried because I might like a 5th one. He said, are you confining us to 4 lives? Supposing you come back again and again, you think I'll stay back? If you happen to be here in my 5th life, you're going to lock me out there in Sachkhand? I'd like to come back too. Then Great Master laughed at this humorous side of it, and he said, the truth is, now I'm quoting you what Great Master explained about the 4 lives. And that's the true answer. Great Master said, 4 lives does not mean everybody has to go through 4 lives. If initiate, after initiation from a perfect living master, which means if he has been initiated by other masters, leave that period aside. That can be 1 or 2 or 3 lives. That's separate. If an initiate is an initiate of a perfect living master and follows what the master says and leads the life of a Gurbukh, that's his last life. He'll not come again. If an initiate of a perfect living master cannot complete his work, cannot fully execute what is required to do on the spiritual path, cannot do 2.5-hour bhajan or whatever the master says should be done, if he cannot follow, trips again and again from it, he may get a 2nd life. Which life will be better in circumstances, because in the first life at initiation, all sinchit karma will have been destroyed. The next life will be formed only from the kariman karma of that one life. It will be much smaller and much better. Next life will be much better, more conducive to doing meditation, and you'll go home on the 2nd life. If a person completely gives away the path and says, no, this was just a hoax, I don't think I believe it, but it so happens that the master initiates him. Now, you can't say he initiates by mistakes. I don't think he makes mistakes, but if he initiates him out of a strange kind of compassion, which I haven't talked of today, next time you meet me, please remind me of how the compassion of a master works. I'll give you some very good details of that. But if he does initiate a person who gives up the path, he will then do what he would have done in the first life, in the second, and then he has to come for a 3rd life. Only those who become nindaks, critics of the master, and go against him and hate him and even torture and kill him, they come for the 4th life. So don't think that 4 lives is everybody's destiny. Make your destiny 1 life. Okay? Yes. Many people get the sound, get experiences inside way before they are initiated. How? They were initiated in the past. But they haven't found the master yet, but the work was so much. And I've met a lot of those people, by the way. I myself met people who from the childhood have been having their experiences. And they get initiated now because they are experiencing this progress without big initiation by an initiation that happened in the past life. It's not that they are new initiates. They are all old initiates. So initiation in one life carries on. It's not, nothing is lost. I'll end today's program by telling you the story of an engineer, which I've told before, but I think it bears repetition because that happens to so many of us. So many of us go to different gurus, swamis, do different kind of yogas, we do different kind of spiritual practices, and then come finally to this Satmata, or the spiritual science of the sound system. Many people have done other things, so this story will be relevant. There was a disciple of the great master who was an engineer, a building and roads engineer named Trilok Chand. He's passed away now. Trilok Chand worked in Burma, now called Myanmar. That country is called Myanmar. That time was called Burma. Rangoon was the capital, and he worked as an engineer for the government in that. Government salaries were very small, but he was what they called conjuice. What is conjuice? Miserly. Let me give another definition of conjuice. If he held a 1 rupee note or a $1 bill in his hand, he would say, shall I spend it or not spend it? Shall I spend it or not spend it? Not spend it. Put it in his pocket. So he was that type of person. Because of this habit of his, he was able to save in a low salary job 30,000 rupees, Burmese rupees. But his seeking was so strong, he really wanted to find the truth, really wanted to go to Sachkhand. He looked all around. There were many Burmese customary yogis and swamis teaching different things. Then he heard that there is a swami in Chennai, in Madras, in India, who everybody said, Poncha Hoya. You understand what is Poncha Hoya? That he has realized the truth. And he can work miracles with people who are his disciples, and they see inner light. So he went to get enlightenment. He took all the journey, resigned from his job. His priority was to get spiritual truth. Resigned from his job, carries his 30,000 rupees, and went over and said, Master, I have come to get enlightened. Will you enlighten me? Master said, have you heard the story of King Janak? Have you heard the story? Oh, I have to repeat. Sorry for interrupting this. A story of the Trilok Chand. Now I am bringing another story in the middle. The story of King Janak. Once upon a time in India lived a king who was also a great seeker. His name was Janak, King Janak. He wanted to seek the truth. He wanted to know what real truth is, who we are, what our reality is. So he told his ministers and advisors, can I find out what the truth is? I am really keen to know it. The truth inside me, I want to know that. They said, Your Majesty, you are living in a great country. There are so many yogis, swamis, sadhus here in this country. Just have a yajna, have a big feast, a holy feast. They all love these feasts, and they will all come and give you truth. So he held a feast, a yajna in his palace, and many spiritual chiefs of different kinds came up. Some with yellow clothes, some with red clothes, some with orange clothes, some without clothes. All types of yogis and swamis, some with ash covered on them. So he put up some little tents for them in the palace lawns, and he made himself incognito, that means disguised himself an ordinary person. An ordinary person, he went around in all the tents listening to true knowledge that they were discussing. He found they were all fighting with each other. My scripture is right, yours is wrong, my method is right. They were so angry with each other, some were coming to blows with each other. He was so disappointed. He said, these are very learned people. They recite from scriptures all the time, but none of them has any knowledge of the truth within. So disappointed, he came back to his palace, and calling his advisors, he said, I was absolutely misled. These people are not the one who can give me truth. They were only learned people, but not realized people. And the advisor said, Majesty, you didn't call enough people. It was only 1 day show. Have a 7-day show. And we'll, by beat of drum, convey this message. All those who have realized God, all those who are enlightened, please come. The Majesty wants to get enlightened. So he said, okay, organize a 7-day camp. So then people came from all over the country. And he had to lay many more tents and make more arrangement for food and so on, for the lodging for all those people. And then he disguised himself again, and incognito he walked amongst them, and he found the same thing repeated 7 times over. That they were very learned people, they were very experienced in quotations, quoting from scriptures and so on. None of them was really realized with the top. Very disappointed. He said to his ministers and advisors, I am thoroughly disappointed. This is the state of our spirituality in the country. I thought we were a very country of great realized people. I didn't know they are not realized. They are educated. They are learned. But they are not realized. They are not enlightened. I want enlightenment. The advisor said, Majesty, if you want that kind of enlightenment, these people can't give you. But there is a master who sits on the bank of a river in a little hut. And he is enlightened, but he doesn't come to these parties at all. You have to go to him and invite him, then only he will come. He says, what's his name? His name is Ashtabakar. Ashta means 8, Bakar means bent. So he was a hunchback. Ashtabakar was a hunchback with 8 bends like this on his back. So they called him Ashtabakar. The king went to Ashtabakar's hut. And Ashtabakar got up, Majesty, how did you come to my hut? He said, I have not come as a king. I have come as a beggar. I beg you, come to my palace and give me real enlightenment, the real truth. I don't want learned people. He says, certainly, Majesty, if you invite me, I will come. So, on the appointed day, King Janak arranged a big congregation of all his relatives, other noble people, other nobilities and kings from Afghanistan, princes from other countries around, and very big crowd gathered in his auditorium in the palace. And they were all seated there when Ashtabakar arrived with 7 or 8 of his disciples. When they arrived, they took their shoes off at the entrance, that was the custom, and they proceeded to the stage. And the king had put 2 chairs on the stage, one for himself and one for Ashtabakar, the master. They both were sat down. But when the mystic was moving toward the stage, people were laughing and murmuring, is this what has happened to the king? He's lost his mind. To call a hunchback, crooked man like this walking, is he going to give any enlightenment? So they were murmuring, looking at his body. So when Ashtabakar sat down, he said, Majesty, King Janak, what is the price of leather? He said, Master, I don't understand your question. We have invited you to give us some enlightenment on spirituality. What has leather to do with it? Ashtabakar said, are these not all leather merchants sitting here? He said, no, they are princes, nobility. He said, but the way they looked at my skin, I thought maybe they're leather merchants. Then everybody realized this was some sense of humor in the man. They kept quiet. Then he said, King, if you want true enlightenment, you have to pay a price for it. Are you ready? He says, you can take whatever you want. My coffers, my treasury is open. Whatever you demand will be the price I will pay you. He says, I want 3 things. Master, take 10. No limit. No, just give me 3 things. Give me your body. Give me your wealth. Give me your mind. When you're given these 3, I'll give you true enlightenment. Very strange price tag. But the king was such a great seeker. He said, Master, my body is yours, at your disposal. All of my wealth is yours. My mind is also yours. I surrender. Give me enlightenment. He says, are you sure you have given these to me? Yes, Master. Is this body mine now? I can put it wherever I like? Yes, Master. Okay, walk up from the stage, go and sit on my shoes that I left at the door. The king said, it's an order of the master now, and it's a strange order, but I have to carry it out. I've given my body to him. So he got up and walked towards the shoes. As he was walking, all the people began to again giggle and laugh. Look at, the king is really mad now, calling a hunchback on the stage to enlighten, and he's giving enlightenment by saying, sit on the shoes. What kind of enlightenment is that? And this king said, they only think I am a king with all the wealth, and therefore they don't understand. When this thought came to him, Ashtabakar shouted from the stage, King, you have no business to think of that wealth, you already given it to me. So, oh my God, I forgot. I had given the wealth to my king. At that time, Ashtabakar shouted, you cannot think what you've given or not given, you've given your mind to me. And he said, I can't even think. He put his hands like this, and he could do nothing. Ashtabakar gave his grace, he got enlightened. Ashtabakar said, King, don't go to the shoes, come back. He came back. Before this exercise, he did ask, the Ashtabakar had asked the king, what kind of knowledge do you want? He said, I want instant knowledge, which makes me suspect he was an American in his past life. Instant knowledge. They want everything instant. Then master had asked him, what is your definition of an instant? He said, instant is when I go out to ride on my horse, when I put my foot in the stirrup and then I jump on the saddle, that's an instant. So when he came back, at that time the master said, did you get enlightened? Yes, master. Are you satisfied? It was enlightenment. Yes, master. Did you get in an instant? Master, I got it in less than an instant. He said, what you got was a sampling of what lies inside you. To retain it, to get it again, I'll tell you a method. Within 20 years, you will get it again with practice. So, this is the story of Ashtabakar and King Janak. He had to give these three things. When Trilokchand, the engineer from Burma, went to the master in Madras, India, and asked for the same thing, he was asked by the master, have you heard the story of King Janak? He said, yes, master. Give me your body, give me your wealth, give me your mind. I'll give you enlightenment. He acted like Ashtabakar. He said, let's start with the wealth first. How much do you have? How would I be suspicious if I was the Lokchand at that point? He says, master, I have 30,000 rupees which I saved. Deposit in my account, I want to start building a temple. Now look at the man who couldn't spend 1 rupee, deposited his entire 30,000 rupees in the account of that Swami. He could start his temple. He said, now give your body. The practice of meditation I am going to teach involves pranayama, involves breathing exercises, and not ordinary breathing exercises. It's breathing alternately, once with the left nostril, once with the right nostril. Once you take the breath in and out from one nostril, second from the other nostril. Alternate. And you cannot use your fingers for that. If you use your fingers, the whole attention will go into the hands and the fingers. Attention must be kept inside. Therefore, you must use your tongue for that purpose. You twist your tongue back and internally block one nostril and the other. Since the tongue is tied down with tendons and cannot turn back, you get the tendons cut off, as I have done. And the master opened out his mouth. His tongue came out like a snake's tongue. He says, I got it done, you have to get it done. And to make it a sacrifice of your body, I will not do it by simple surgery. I will sandpaper it so that you bear the torture of your sacrifice. And I will use some what's it called, bichu boti. Do you know what bichu boti? Nettle rash, that plant which stings also. And I'll use a stinging nettle to brush off and then rub off this. It will take 1 month for the tendons to be cut off. And your tongue will be loose. Then you can practice meditation. Then you give me your mind, I'll let you know what to do. Imagine that man went through that torture for 1 month. And ultimately, every day would scream. And he said, but I want enlightenment. So he got his tongue cut off from the bottom. He could take the tongue out, twist it back, and he was able to stop the breathing from one side to the other. He practiced that pranayama for a long time, and he began to see lights and sounds. I would have seen the lights on the very first day they cut my tongue. Anyway, he practiced giving up his mind and practiced that. He saw lights, sounds, and anything, did not think that was equal to the enlightenment he was seeking. He wanted to get answers to all his questions. He wanted real answers. Where do we belong? Where are we? He didn't get that. So his search continued after that. Eventually, a satsangi, a disciple of the great master, happened to meet him by coincidence and directed him to great master. And he came there, was initiated by great master, and made very rapid progress compared to other disciples. He was sitting with the great master where I was also present, and I heard this conversation between Trilokchand and the great master. He said, "Master, if I had known that you are the perfect master, I would not have gone to that Swami and given him away my 30,000 rupees. Great master laughed. He said, "Trilokchand, you don't know one truth, that when you came to me, I transferred those 30,000 rupees to my account. Everything that you did there has been transferred to my account. You lose nothing by following any master. It's a step in the right direction. Your seeking should continue, and a perfect living master will find you at the end and take you home." It's a big lesson. A big lesson. We should not worry so much about which master we are following. So long as the master is telling us, go within, he will not be able to take you beyond where he has gone. Therefore, if your seeking goes beyond that, you will keep on seeking, and you will certainly find a perfect living master who will take you back home. Seeking is the secret, and don't stop seeking, no matter who is teaching you what. That's the secret. Okay? Thank you very much. God bless you. I'm very happy I was able to spend time with all of you.